Going. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I am trusting that wherever you are looking good. Summer is almost finished, winter is upon us, and where are you watching us from today? My name is TJ. Welcome to M5 Property Addicts. And if you don't know what we do, on here we do all things property related. So, ladies and gentlemen, it is great having you guys around. I'm excited for tonight. It is Pass It On. And today we're going to be talking about money in, money out. Money in, money out. What do I mean by that? And we're going to be talking about it. So I am excited that you are here. So let me know where you are joining from and why you have joined us, actually, because that would be cool, amazing. And like it is every other weekend or every other Thursday, um, on Pass It On, I get a guest that comes through. And today, last week we were here and it was on fire. If you didn't watch us last week, Thursday, you need to catch up on that video. We were talking about mentoring, Rita and I. And today I've got her on as well. She'll be joining us just now. So, yeah, where are you watching me from? That's my question. I want to know where you're watching us from. And let me just bring in Rita there and say good mornings to you, ma'am. How are you?
Morning, morning. No, I just had an awesome session with the mentorship guys. So yeah,
Yeah.
just jumping in from there.
Okay. So you are running the mentorship today.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
Good. And some powerful things or not? What was happening there?
yeah. So we spoke about how to do a proposal for private investors if you want to get a private investor into your deal, looking for private money, or even if you want to prepare yourself for some of the conversations that you will get from the bank and the questions, how do you present it in the best favorable light for you to be successful in getting your finance?
I think that's a topic that a lot of people don't understand. And when you are on a journey like this one and you get someone who's telling you what to do, how to do it, why you're doing it, because that was one of my biggest challenges, Rita. I'm not one of those people that, when you're walking across and there is something that is there and it's white and you just say, hey, it's white, do it this way. um, I I want to kind of like figure out the why around it. Why should I do it white?
Mm.
As opposed to anything else. So yeah, so that I think that is important. So today we want to talk about finance, dude. Are you ready? We're talking about money.
Yo, more money. I like talking about money. Give it to me.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. So talking about money, right? I think the first thing that I want to ask of you, when did you define or when did you start understanding the concept of money?
Yo, I was very badly educated in money. I
Yeah.
think the first time I understood about money was when I went to university, and I was literally, now I can't really ask my parents for anything, and and you get that little bit of an allowance, and now you must make it through the whole month with this little budget, okay?
Yeah.
And then somebody steals the money out of your room. Oh my word! I think that is where budgeting and money just like exploded in my brain.
Cool. Yeah. And I think many other people will still struggle with that today, even though they've gone past varsity or they've even gone past some form of education and they are now even staying on their own or even married. And it's not an easy conversation to have, right? For some people, for some couples, and I think people just forge their own. But what is money for you, Rita? Because I think we all see money as in the Mandelas and the Benjamins, as they call them in the States, and all of our friends here in South Africa call it with the Mandelas. What is money? What does money allow you to do?
So money, people say time is money, but for me it's the other way around. Money is time. And you can and it's like, you can buy time. You can actually buy time, because if you had money, you could have all the freedom to do whatever you want with your time. But because when we don't have the money, we're kind of trapped in this race to do things we don't really want to do to make money, so that we can do things we want that we don't have time for. So for me, money is time, and it buys you freedom and choices and options. If I want to fly to on a holiday to Hawaii for 2 weeks, you must be able to do that. You must have options, and maybe something much more simpler, which brings it home, I think, to a lot of us, is around options around schooling for our kids. Do you want your kid to be in the school next door? Do you want them to be in a private school? So for me, it's all about choices, options, and freedom to do with your time what you want.
Mm. I suppose money would mean different things for different people. I
Mm.
remember very well in my community of people that I used to worship with back in the days. Prosperity was seen to be having money was seen as being sinful, if I may call it
Mm.
that. You know, if you've got money, you it's wrong for you to have money. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Um, and I'm like, no, but it's not wrong to have money. If it's wrong, how come Jesus even had a like an accountant on his team, for him to collect money? It's right. You need to have money. And for me, I think if I look or ask the same questions around money, it's money gives me the options. And for me, that's the bottom part of it. Options. Just being able to have the options to say, I don't have to go to work if I don't want to go to work. But
Mm.
then you're not worried about putting food onto the table. Or I can go into a deal with that person and that person and that person, and I'm in multiple deals at the same time because I've got the money. Um, so I think money for me, it speaks to the flexibility of um, how best you can stretch or multiply yourself to be
Mm.
in different spaces and to do different things. If you got money, you can hire the best chef or you can hire a chef, and you don't have to cook.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah, and that's basic stuff, right? Um, the other day,
So
someone.
speaking about, sorry, TJ, speaking about cooking, it just made remind me that, so there's this guy that I met and he has an office in the Cape Town CBD,
Yeah.
and he was like living my life. Okay, I was like, it's like he's living my dream. So his office is right behind a restaurant that he owns, and this restaurant has the most amazing health stuff. They've got almond milk coffee with this and that. And I'm like, okay, so let me guess, all of this stuff in this restaurant, okay? He basically put the menu together based on things that he likes, so that he never has to cook again. Oh, how cool is that? Owning a restaurant that's catered just for what you like. Oh,
Yeah,
anyway,
but
sorry.
uh, but but where does that start from? Because when we look at such kind of people, we start thinking that these people have had that I mean, throughout their lives, which is not the case. I mean, if
Mm,
I look at me and you, we didn't start by just below 400 students. We didn't start by 200 tenants. We didn't start from there. We started off just like everybody else, going to work. I remember the days winter was my dreadful days of going to work. Um, and yeah, and we took a little bit of risk. So there is risk that is associated in winning, right? So you can't win
Yeah.
without taking a risk, right? So you gotta need to take a risk. And I think for a lot of people, they have what they have and they want to hold on to what they have, and they don't want to take a risk. And without taking the risk, they don't get the rewards that other people are getting, and basically they're taking the risk. And
Yeah.
when money comes in from whether you're being employed or you got a small business or whatever the case is, um, what else can you do with it? How else can you spread it across so that you are not the only person who is working, but your money starts to work for you? And that's a concept that I want us to speak about, Rita. What does it mean when money is working for you besides you working for money? There's a big difference there.
Sure. I always when I was still working for Accenture, I used to hear that a lot. Your money must work for you, but people don't explain how that works. Okay, so it always was. I was always like confused about that, and it's like, yeah, okay, it must work, but the things in terms of how my money's working for me was very limited. In terms of that, so I would be okay. Well, I've got a retirement plan at work, so my money's working for me, but it's not actually. And I didn't really understand what that means and how it works. So, how the money actually works, what you need to do to get the money to work. And I always thought, well, I don't earn enough in any case, only for rich people. Rich people can make money work hard for them. You need money to make money. We always hear that sort of stuff, right? Um, Not knowing that there are places where you can put your money that and how it works and why it works better, understanding property. If you put your money in property, guess what, it works for you. Because without you having to do some things, you'll have to do more, be more actively involved with your time to get your money to do more for you. Some things can be passive, where you put your money into a deal with a friend or with a professional company, buy stocks, buy bonds, um, whatever the case may be, and without you having to do much necessarily, that money can grow and it can become more. And we think that saving in the bank gives us that, but it doesn't, because of inflation. And I never also really understood how inflation works. It's a bit of a foreign concept to me. But once I understood what that is, and how you can what you can actually do with your money to make it more, um, and without you having to spend time on it, and that is how the money can work for you.
So let's talk baby steps.
Mm.
You got 10,000 Rand. Um, with what you know today, if you've got 10,000 Rand, right? Um, how would you get to work to get your money to work harder for you?
So there's different ways,
Yeah.
okay? So and different investment vehicles out there. And I know that obviously, guys, we are property buyers, so obviously I'll talk about that as well. But there are other ways. You can go and buy Twitter stocks, because apparently I've heard that with Elon Musk and saying he's going to buy Twitter, things are happening there. But now I'm thinking I wanted to do that, and then I'm thinking, flip, but aren't I too late now? Because he already said it, and now it jumped 30%. And what happens if it's going to fall by 30% tomorrow? So now I'm freaking out, and I'm like, okay, maybe not. But that's an option. You might know about the next best greatest thing. Again, there's risk involved. So are you okay to take that sort of risk? Are you okay with the adrenaline and the drama? That's your business. So that's one way. There's different. You might think, oh, but that's how do I invest in property? Because property is very expensive. Um, However, there are ways and people can invest with other people in a fund scenario, where that money goes, everybody groups their money together, and that pot of money then goes and it purchases a property. So as much as you have only 10,000 rands in the property, you can still own that property by virtue of owning shares in the property. Is it the same as buying Twitter shares? No, it's not, because it's still based on property. It's not based on what Elon said. If Elon says tomorrow, oh, the property market is going to crash, guys, he's what people say about property. Property is a slower, calmer mechanism that, it does fluctuate, it does go up and down, but it doesn't go up and down by 30% in a day. Okay, it's not going to happen. So property, and by investing together in a group, you can still go own something and still get all the benefits of investing in property, um, by just having that little bit of money and pulling it together with other people.
And what kind of returns would one expect to get, like on a 10,000? And I'm just gonna go up here because there's different options for different people. On a 10,000 rand, what kind of returns would I be expecting? Because right now, if I put in my 10,000 rand at the bank, maybe 4 or 5% if I'm like super lucky. Um, but it wouldn't even get that far, right? So yeah.
Yeah, so what's interesting is that the banks like to advertise, oh, we're doing 7%, we're doing 7.2%, and now the interest rates are going up, we're looking at 8%. But if you go and you look at what does it actually mean, you'll see that the investment amount is a lot of times much higher than that. And that 8% really kicks in once you invest 1 million, type of thing. Okay. Depends on the bank. So I'm not talking about a specific bank here, but different banks have different terms to this. Then there's also fees that you're going to have to pay on a monthly basis. So all of that stuff gets subtracted from this 8% that you're supposedly making. And then it's in there stuck for 5 years or whatever the term might be. So it's not truly 8% if you have 10,000 rands. You need to go and look at the scale. The more you invest, the more the percentages are, and so on. So it's not as simple as you would think when you see the ads that they put out there. So specifically, if somebody invested with us with 10,000 rands, they can get up to 12%, okay, on a year investment, which is quite a lot for somebody that co-owns, okay. But okay, sorry, two things. That would be just for an investment. If you want to co-own in something for 10,000 rands coming into a fund, you're literally going to earn what everybody else is earning with 100,000 or more, which could be, and I think last year in our fund we made like 30 something percent, which is a combination of your actual payment that you get out plus your equity growth, the value of the property that has grown. So there's the co-ownership, which you can get like that, or there's your annual investment, which is up to 12%. Does that make sense? Did I get it right, TJ?
Well, you're explaining how you see things,
Sometimes
right?
sometimes I explain things in a very complicated way. So sorry if I did that.
Nah. I think you did well there. But look, for people that are wanting to do some investments, and you got a 10,000, anything from a 10,000, and you're trying to figure out where to invest. We're just talking about money here today, and the conversation is about when you've got money, what can you do with it? How can your money work for you, other than you working for money, right? So first thing that we just now kind of like rediscover on money working for you is that, for instance, you can invest. You can invest with us. We've got a wider range of products, and you can just jump on to www m5propertyaddicts.com/products. And you can see from investing as low as 10,000 Rand, what's the return looking like? It's only 12%. What is the bank giving you? Or wherever that you're investing in. And we go as far as 20%. But that's just on our products that we do. Rita, when you started investing versus investing today, I'm sure there's lots of things that you didn't know then that you needed to look out for. But I get to talk to a lot of people during the day, and they always ask the question, is it not risky? And I say to them, risky and risk is two different things. Which one are you asking? And everything has a risk. There is nothing that doesn't have a risk. Everything has a risk. So in a minute or so, what are the risks, or what are the things that you were seeing then, and in today's life you can then say, if I see that, I'm comfortable with the risk and I'm going to invest, or what should I be looking for when I'm investing? Because I think like someone asked me the other day, are you registered with the NCA? I'm like, why do I need to be registered with the NCA? I'm not giving out loans. But I think they feel compelled to ask that question. So what should they be looking for from a risk perspective? Because I think that guy was trying to see, are we compliant? But now he doesn't know what to ask, or how risky is it. And he just asked around the NCA, for instance, and ways we're not giving out loans. So what are some of the things that you would want to look out for? Let's look from the time when you started investing as an individual and to where you are now, especially if you're investing in property.
Yeah. And it's funny that you say it, because I had that exact same question in the mentorship session earlier this evening. And the guys were saying, but when you prepare a proposal, isn't it a bad thing to put like all the risks and different strategies in your proposal to people? Isn't that going to cast doubt in what you do? And I said to them, no, that's exactly what you should be looking for when you're investing. Is if you're looking at a specific project or a deal that you want to invest in, have people thought about the risks in this thing? Like you say, everything has risk. And people that understand will know that everything has risk. But can you mitigate it? Can you prevent that risk from becoming a reality in the future? So that's the main thing that you need to look out for when you look at an investment. Okay. So how do you mitigate the risk that if Elon says tomorrow he's not buying Twitter anymore, that the share price is going to fall? I don't know how you mitigate that. Okay, maybe sell sooner. I don't know. Maybe buy something else. I don't know. But for me, to look at a strategy, and I'll talk about student accommodation because that's obviously what I love. What if student accommodation doesn't work on this specific property for whatever reason? Maybe we don't get the students. There could be a risk that NSFAS doesn't happen anymore. What then? What's going to happen then? And you now need to say, okay, well, what is the backup to that strategy? Okay, cool. Maybe we sell the property. Will I still make my money if I sell the property? Yes, I will. And I'm just selling it, not a student accommodation, but something else, just a normal house. Will I make back my money? Yes. Okay, tick, done. Your risk is mitigated. What can I rent it out as something else and I can still make money? Yes, I can. Can you prove it? Yes, I can. Tick, risk mitigated. So you need to be able to talk about the risks in something, and you need to show that you know how to handle those risks, that you can prevent it from actually becoming a reality into the future. And if it does become a reality, how are you going to get out of that situation before all the money goes down the drain, so to speak. So very important for me that whoever I talk to and whenever I evaluate something, I'm like, what are the risks and can we mitigate it? What is my backup strategy to what we're busy doing here? The second thing that I personally would want to understand is, do those people that say this is how they're going to mitigate the risk, talk is cheap, people. It's cheap. Anybody can talk the talk, and there's lots of people out there. So, but have they done this before? Okay. Do you have proof that either you or your team have actually done this type of thing before? Okay. And then from there, I can say, I have the comfort to say, okay, I can see they've done it before. I can see they know what they're talking about. They understand the risks. I can get out of the risks. What's my backup plan? And then for me, those are the most important things in property that I would look at before I would put my money anywhere.
Yeah, so you've just nailed it there, right? And for the guys that are asking questions, I will jump into the questions now, right at the top of the half hour. But if you look, Rita, at this risk thing, property has inherent risks, right? So it's like in the DNA of the actual asset itself. So there is some risks that you can't run away from. So if you're in property, the number one, I'm gonna ask you one risk, inherent risk there for property. So the number one that I can think about is that if you bought a property and it's for rental, it's a given that at some point you're not going to have a tenant, right? So it's inherent. At any point, you may not have a tenant. But what's going to happen if there is no tenant? Then you now need to fix that, right? And that's the mitigation that, for instance, Rita is talking about. So if I'm to shoot straight, poof, that's a risk, and it's an inherent one, and that's the solution, right? But can we say that over and above that solution, we are going to make sure that on this particular property, we're going to have some je ne sais quoi, we're going to make sure that the lifestyle of the people that are going to stay on our property is so good that they can't think of going somewhere else. Again, it's a mitigation. Can I lower my rent across board so that I'm the only person who's maybe 200, 300 rand cheaper across board? It's a mitigation. So all of these are mitigation to make sure that there is no day that I'm never going to have no tenants, but I will have. It's inherent. It will happen at some point, right? I mean, we're always putting up strategies in terms of how can we increase our rental? How can we increase our rental? And that's what it is. I want to jump on Rita. Give me one inherent risk.
So you've already spoken about the tenant one. Then
Yeah,
am I only allowed to do one?
just one. You're running out
Just
of time.
one. Okay, an easy one. I'll do an easy one.
Yeah,
With students as well, again, if you're working with gas fires, something could go wrong and the place might burn down, okay? And then what? Now you have nothing. You can't rent it out even for a long time, while you have to obviously rebuild what's there, and so on. And then, there's obvious mitigation strategies around that, is around your insurance, your rental insurance, all of those sort of things, which I think is a fairly easy one. But that for me is definitely an inherent risk to property.
100%. So for people that are then wanting to invest with us, right? We manage these risks. That's the business we run actually. People come in and they invest with us in any of the products that you're going to see, and they ask the questions. Then they ask other questions that are unrelated to what we do here in the business. Are you registered with the NCA? that's not really the question that we need to be asking. But
Mm.
the real question is about this particular, these two things here that we've asked. These are the real McCoy in terms of risks. So we manage those things and we then make sure that whatever that we promise you on whatever product it is, we can then be able to guarantee that and then pass it on to you in terms of when we say we are going to give you a 12%, it's a 12%, it's a 14%, it's a 14%, because we've seen the risk and we've mitigated that. Now, someone has just asked the question, when I invest in property, when do I get the return on my investment? So it depends with the product that you are choosing. So jump on onto our website, m5propertyaddicts.com/products, right? And we'll put the link just now in the comments. Now, with that, you can then be able to see the different products. There's products where you can invest as little as 10,000 to as far as on a minimum basis to as far as a minimum of 200,000. But the payouts are different. It's different products that carry different interest rate per year, right?
Mm.
So someone is asking, is the 15% on quarterly basis or will it be monthly basis? All of our interest rates are pegged on a yearly basis, right? I was speaking to someone today and they said to me, Rita, I pinged you on this one, and they said they were receiving 1% interest per day.
Yeah, and I was
So,
like, how's that even legit? How's that even possible? I want to invest there.
which basically means that per year they were on 365%, right? I don't know what they're doing when most of the companies that are on the stock exchange and things like that, they're hitting around about a 10%. There are not so many companies that are in the double digits. Very, very
No.
few. No, right? So now, Rita, who, with all of these, with all that we've spoken about, and who can invest with the M5 Property Addicts? Because today we're talking about money. So how can you make your money work harder for you? And one of the ways that you can make your money work harder for you is to invest it. So we're giving you an opportunity to invest it with us, but we are not the only people that you can invest your money in. There are so many places out there, and Reta has given you earlier on some form of guidance in terms of what to look out for when you're wanting to invest. So we are giving you the information, but we are also being free to you to say, hey, go and invest with anyone out there, but look out for A and B and C and D and Z. Who do you think Reta should be investing with us? I think there's maybe not three people that can invest with us.
Only three people. I hope there's more than three people out there wanting to invest.
Well,
Three types of
three
people.
three buckets of people, if I may call that, if they
Yeah.
allow me to call them buckets, because I do think that like on the 20%, we've got a product that's the diamonds, right?
Mm.
And the diamond is really, in my view, I really think that it's meant for people that are not wanting to see their money now. And because the money is locked for 5 years, and the other one is locked for 3 years, but they get 20%. So, which means they're doubling their money, right?
Mm.
And when they get to that 5 year, 3 years, they're making good money. They're doubling their money. You invest 200,000, you're going to walk away with 200,000 in 5 years' time, right? Um, are we the only people that do this kind of investments? No, there's so many of them investments exactly the same on a 5 year lock or on a 3 year lock, right? But then you now need to look at a comparison on interest rates that you're getting. Um, what's the other type of person that you think could be investing with us now that we have ticked the long term player, if I may call them that?
Long term, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, then there's also definitely the person that was like me um, when I was still an employee, although it feels like I'm my own employee these days. But anyway, different story. The
You're still
person
an
that
employee, by the way, eh?
employee to myself. So, and yeah, okay, different story. So definitely the person that wants to make a little bit extra money every month, because my mission when I started was just I need money. If I can just have enough money to pay the school fees, I'll be sorted. I'll be happy. I can do what I want. So that was my whole mission when I started. So definitely the type of person that wants to get a monthly income, that would be for someone. But they don't really um, then okay, let me first talk about the next bucket. The next bucket is really around people that want to co-own property, that wants to build a legacy for themselves, for their children, for their children's children. It's really about owning property and getting a smaller return throughout the year in terms of cash paying out, but really the growth is in the legacy and in the properties that gets bought. It's a portfolio of properties now. It's not, and you're not just buying shares like you would in a REIT, a real estate investment trust on the stock exchange, and it's still just a paper asset. No, you can come and visit this property. I've had people that invested in this sort of thing in the properties, and we went for a tour, and it was really an amazing experience. So it's for that sort of person, and they are sort of they think, okay, well, maybe in 3 years, 5 years time, I want to cash out, or I want to stay in and really build that legacy. So those are, I think, definitely in my mind, the other two buckets of people.
Yeah. So yeah, if you're one of those people that are wanting to invest um, in property with us, in the comments there, I've just dropped a link there that says request a call back. We will call you. So tomorrow we'll definitely give you a call for you if you're wanting to invest. You're one of those people. Either you're wanting number one to call on, so there's a minimum investment there of 100,000. You want to call on, and or you're just wanting to see your money grow over a long period of time, 3 years to 5 years. That's an 18 to 20%. So you're doubling your money. Again, we can call you and facilitate the paperwork. Or you're looking at, again, on a monthly basis. You want to see money coming through to you on a monthly basis. And we will definitely facilitate the paperwork with you there. Now, um, with all of these things, Rita, uh, that are happening, I want to just start rounding off now. Um, I don't see any questions. There are not so many people asking questions tonight. But actually, someone is saying, hey, I'm motivated to start my flipping journey from watching all of your videos. Well done. Well done. Right. Um, I think that's the only other comments that I'm seeing. Other people were just throwing in some general comments of where they are and things like that. We love hearing from you guys. So as and when we're having this conversation, even if the video is done, we still go back to some of these videos and we have a look, we comment, and we comment back at you to give you what you're looking for. Right. Now, having said that, Rita, let's round it off. There are types of investments, or should I say, there is types of investments that one can do, right? And a lot of people, I think, we hang on to property, and yet there is digital assets, there is paper assets, and then physical assets, which is the property stuff, right? Why do you think people hang on to or are so comfortable around property other than all these other assets that come and, you know, that come and go. And by the way, I was I wanted to say to you today, I was fascinated with Ade Chako. You remember when we were in training with Robert Kiyosaki, and he was saying that you need to invest in 5 Gs, remember?
Mm.
And one of the Gs was guns and bullets, remember?
Yeah,
And I was thinking, sure, Russia, eh,
yeah. He just made a crap load of money.
when the world was at peace, nobody needed guns, right?
He was buying. Now he's
Yeah.
selling.
eh, and at the moment, everyone is kind of like getting prepared. I mean, we laugh at these things, but there's predictions of a World War III coming up
Mm.
and things like that. But now the guns are going to be a very high commodity, and anything, it becomes an asset, right?
Mm.
But coming back to our reality of life, my question read about people that hang on to property. Me and you have hung on to property for a long time now. Why do you think that's been important? And for someone else who's new today and they're just stumbling upon us and like, hey, so why should I do in property? What's your thinking? And then maybe we can wrap it up.
Yo, that's like another half an hour. That's like an hour video by itself. I'll try and keep it short. So I
Yeah.
think for me, definitely, it's around, and I've done many videos about it. You guys can go and look at it, and I've done numbers and sheets, and I always do that weird stuff. Anyway, but the main thing for me around property is that I can get funding from the bank. So I can buy something and that is worth um, 1 million rands, right? 1 million. So I can be a millionaire by just having maybe 100,000 rands, 10%. I can go and buy a property and the bank will give me that money. The bank, guys, is not going to give you money to go buy Twitter shares, okay? They won't.
Come on.
But they will give me money to go buy a property. And you might think,
So,
yeah,
so,
but
so property is the only asset where the bank can fund you to get. Is that what you're saying?
I don't think it's the only asset, but I
Yeah.
think it's an asset where ordinary people can get funding for. If you look at other fancier things that
Yeah. But
power stations, what, but
let's
where
be real.
ordinary people can get easy money from the bank,
Okay, let's
it's
be
for
realistic.
property. Yeah.
Let's be realistic. Can the bank give you money to go and buy crypto?
No, they won't do that.
Can,
No,
can the bank give you money to go and buy gold?
no, they won't do that either.
Okay, so
And
then
if
rest my
gold is
case.
even a good asset, but yet they won't give you money to go and borrow you money, lend you money to go and do that. They won't.
Yeah.
Yeah. Realistic things. So definitely property is one of those things. Now in my old thinking, I would always be like, yeah, but I don't want to have that sort of debt. I'm sorry. But we forget about good debt and bad debt. And my uncle always used to talk about it. And me as a little girl, I would just listen to that. And I was so stupid. I used to be a very stupid child. I never even asked the question, but why? How does that work? Anyway, so the good part about this is that if you then rent that asset out, you don't pay it back. Your tenant pays it back. The person that is actually paying rent to you is paying it back. So after 20 years, by having only 100,000 rands, and over 20 years, your tenant just paid it back. Maybe you didn't even make any money over the 20 years. It doesn't matter. After 20 years, you have an asset that is now, you have 1 million rands, because if you sell that property, you're going to get 1 million rands back. The property value would have increased over that time in any case. And we know that the value of property doubles every 10 years. So let's say you can easily sell that property now for 2 million. And let me tell you a story. I bought a property in, I think it was 2009, right? When the interest rates were 24%. Okay. I was young and stupid and I could afford it and I just bought it. Okay. And we lived in it and that was that. And 5 years later, we moved to a bigger property as life goes. And 2 years later, so 7 years in total, we then sold that property. And I bought that property for 125,000 rands. Okay. It was a little townhouse in Centurion, 125,000 rands. 7 years later, I sold that same property for 470,000 rands. Okay. And it blew my mind. I could literally take that money. What did I do with it? Very stupid. I paid off the bank at my new house that I was staying in, and I was living bond free basically at that point in time. And then the story gets even better, because now this house, little did I know that they were actually busy building or planning to build right next to this estate. They were planning to build the second biggest mall in Centurion, okay, the Mall at Reds. And 2, 3 years later, they built a private school in the area. And wow, every time that happened, value of my property just double, double, double. It's 12 years now, 12 years. I bought that property for 475,000 rands, okay? And it is right now, I can sell it in a heartbeat for 2 million rands, 12 years only. So that is for me why I hang on to property. And yes, I didn't even get rental from any of this, but just because of the asset itself, all of that happened. And yeah, that is why I'll forever be a property person.
Yeah, so I think another concept that you are throwing in there is the whole idea of property in the right location.
Hmm.
So I think that's a topic for another conversation. But for tonight, ladies and gentlemen, we want to end it here. The topic was talking about money in, money out. What can you do with your money? How can you make your money work harder for you? And the one thing that we spoke about is investing in property. So if you know how to invest in property, then go and do it. If you don't know how to do it, we're going to throw in a link. We can teach you how to do it yourself, right? And we've got a varsity where you can come in and you can learn. Rita was there tonight, and they were having some mentorship there. So you can learn baby steps. There's some courses that you can jump into and things like that. But maybe you don't want to learn. You just want to invest. Boom. We are still happy to have you on board. There is a link. You can follow that link that we have shared there. Invest with M5 Property Addicts 2022. And we will call you back and facilitate the paperwork for you so that you can have the investments with you. And I know some of you are throwing shade on some of the banks. And Alpha says the bank won't even lend you money to buy their own shares.
I was
Yeah,
just giggling at that.
that's a
Good
good
one,
one.
Alpha.
With that, ladies and gentlemen, we will see you next week, Thursday. And by the way, right, it is 8 o'clock every Thursday. If you've got some people that you think that they need to hear this information, just bring them along. Let them send them the link when it's live. That guys, let's watch this. This is the information that's key. It's been key to me and Rita as we've been journeying along. And the reason why we have Thursday Pass It On is so that you can pass on the information to other people. And together, we can all start winning utilizing real estate. For myself, good night.
Bye.